Hello, everybody, and welcome to Behind the Stone, the e-commerce mastermind show. My name is Robert Runyon, and I will be your host. This is the show where we take a deep dive and discuss hot e-commerce topics and share tips that allow decision makers to take their businesses to the next level. I'm really excited to deep dive on today's topic because this is a hot subject of discussion in the world of e-commerce. Are you tired of not being able to build relationships with your users on your business's social media accounts? Maybe you've had a bad experience of working with a social media agency in the past, or you're not sure where to begin, or you have a team and they have zero in-house social media marketing knowledge. And ultimately, you're ready for a solution that will open up lots of conversations and build evangelists for your brand. If that's you, then stick around for a few moments so I can show you why social media works for opening up conversations, why social media is a great channel to use and build relationships, and how to implement storytelling effectively using a service you have never seen before. Today, I'm with a very special guest, Eric Johnson, who owns a social media marketing agency, helps people with content creation, clicks, conversions, visibility, the whole nine yards. Eric, thank you for being on the show. We're going to talk about storytelling today and the use cases behind it. Can you tell me a little bit more about you and how you got into social media marketing?
Sure. So yeah, I've had my social media marketing business now for over 8 years. There's been insane amounts of changes in digital marketing during that time. But we've always been focused on helping our clients with their messaging, their posts, scheduling all their posts, doing all the tech stuff that sort of bogs them down, holds them back. And other things we've been doing is, helping clients. A lot of times when they come to us, they may say, we're on all these channels, but we don't know what we're doing. Or we're posting, but we don't really know why we're posting. We don't know what's going to happen. We have no strategy. We're sort of throwing things out. And so during all this time, like you said, we've been helping clients with content creation, visibility, clicks, conversions, starting conversations, showcasing products, all of that stuff. And, a lot of times what I tell clients is, yes, we do sell social media marketing services, but really what we are selling is visibility and also peace of mind, because that's what a lot of the business owners want. They just, Eric, take it. We want this to be simple. Just make it work, right? Like when I take my car to the mechanic shop, don't explain anything to me. I'm never going to remember. I'm horrible at that stuff. Just make the thing go. That's all I care about, right? So they kind of come to us like that, and we make their social media go in a direction that reflects them and their brand and aims toward hitting on their goals.
And ultimately monetizing their social media, correct?
Exactly. Yes. That is the only reason they're on social media, to make money. Absolutely.
So before we dive into, talking about storytelling, Eric, I'm wondering if we can start off with the benefits of it. Is storytelling worth it? Can that effort pay off? What kind of results can people get, from storytelling?
Sure. Right now we're living in a story economy. So everyone and their grandmother, Robert, they want one thing from you, and that's your attention. Because if they can get your attention, they can show you an ad, or they can get you into their marketing funnel, or possibly it's, one of 5, one of 8, one of 12 different touches that gets you one step closer to signing up, purchasing, becoming a member, all of those types of things. So what I love about stories is I feel like they're still a bit disruptive. So your competition is probably doing things like post with buy my stuff, look at me, look at us, we're so great, we're awesome. But it's always pushing this buy, right? Nothing wrong with buying. We want people to buy. But when you bust out with a story, all of a sudden, it's kind of like when you hold up bacon in front of your dog, right? Your dog's like, oh, like something exciting, something different's happening now, right? And that's what a story can do. It can help you stand out, or in today's terms, it can help people stop scrolling, which is what we want them to do. We want them to stop scrolling and read. And then beyond that, it helps us connect with our audience, build trust. It's really like the emotional glue. So a lot of times when people are purchasing, sometimes it's not that someone has the best product or service, it's that they've just told the best story. And so that's some of the benefits of stories. That doesn't capture everything, but it really can help us spin certain things on their head, on people's, spin things around so people pay attention in a new way.
Thank you for clarifying that. So, what extent do stories create like brand evangelists or hardcore fans for their audiences? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Sure. One of the best examples is probably one of the most classic stories, and that would be the before and after story. So before this product, after this product. If you've seen an infomercial when you're sitting there at midnight eating Doritos, knowing you need to go to bed because you have a full day tomorrow, but you're still eating Doritos, watching those infomercials, a lot of times they're bombarding you with those before and after storytelling, because those are very emotionally enrolling. And especially, I kind of think people in fitness have it easier because you can physically see the difference. Here's me before, here's me after. But regardless of, the service or product, you can show that, before and after piece. And that is just something I think it's almost intoxicating to people. Like, we can't get enough because we all want transformations in our lives to happen.
You really nailed me with the Doritos on the couch. I watching the infographics late at night, so I can really relate with you there. So one thing in social media that marketers seem to struggle with or avoid ultimately altogether is storytelling. So, but why is that if it's such a crucial part of your business and monetizing your social media? Why would that happen?
Yeah, great question. With this, it usually comes down to different excuses. And the truth is, storytelling is not the easiest thing to do. It's easy to get a link to a sales page and just throw it up on social media, right? But with crafting stories, all of that, people, they have thoughts or worries, concerns about, I don't know where to start. I don't know what to write. I don't know how to say it. Is it too long? Is it too short? Is there too much information? Is it too, me? What if it turns off the audience? All of those types of things. But really it comes down to, like, if someone has kids, anything, if you've ever worked with kids, actually probably if you've ever worked with any team, you always know that it always comes down to practice. And that, sure, some people are going to start out the gate faster, some will be slower, but it is about practice. And, one of the easiest ways, if you're listening thinking, maybe this is for me, one of the easiest ways would be to start practicing with a before and after story. Like for me, years ago, I was a member at a gym in Las Vegas, and I was probably early 30s, and I was probably 35 pounds overweight. Going up the stairs, I would get winded. I never worked out. And, it's kind of the classic, I felt bad about myself. I didn't look good. I didn't feel good. I'm in my early 30s. I feel like I'm a lot older. And then I started going to a boot camp at the gym. And the first day, Robert, this class about killed me. I mean, like, I was the slowest kid in the class. Like, if they said do 20 push-ups, I'd do 3. If they said do 30 jumping jacks, I would do 5, while everyone else, when I was getting to 5, everyone else is getting to 30, right? And I left the class, I lived through it, and I was sore for 4 days, just walking. I was sore, right? But I just kept going. I kept going back. And, the trainer was awesome. He was, As a brand, as a personal brand, he was great because he had great energy. I could ask any questions. I knew I was in good hands. So the great thing about my bootcamp instructor was that he was very patient. So here I am, the worst person in his class, and my form is off, my posture is off. I'm completing everything dead last, and yet he, as a personal brand, what he stood for, he was just knocking it out of the park. And so I just kept going back, and finally lost 30, 35 pounds. And then after that, I signed up for a Tough Mudder event. Tough Mudder is a 10 to 12 mile obstacle mud run. Yeah, you complete about, I think, 15 to 25 obstacles you climb. You're, on your belly, you're in the water, you're out of water, you're in mud. There's ropes, there's fire, sometimes there's electricity, crazy stuff. And I did it and I completed it. And so after this, I told him about it and he said, "That's amazing you did that." And I said, "I did that because of you. Like my story was, I feel horrible about myself. I'm tired walking upstairs. And so to be able to say, because of you, maybe 8 months or a year later, I just did something I thought I could never, ever do." And so now I just told you before and after story, and actually did 3 more Tough Mudders and a Spartan sprint after that. But what just happened is that's a before and after story. And so when people are, your listeners here begin telling those kinds of stories, all of a sudden the listeners are, that's the story I want to live. That's the experience I want to have, and that's what makes stories so powerful for us.
Congratulations, first and foremost, on losing that 30 to 35 pounds and getting healthy. And thank you for actually sharing a great example of how people could use storytelling in their own brands. But if somebody is listening or somebody's watching this and saying, I really want to start using storytelling in my social media, what kind of advice would you give to them?
Yes. Well, like we talked about earlier, you have to practice. I know. If you're listening to this, you want to be that 1 in a million unicorn who just, soars into whatever social network, and all these clients flock to you. And you know what? Those stories are only showcased because they rarely ever happen, right? So some of your favorite musical artists that you love right now, who maybe had a number one hit in the last 6 months, that's because they've been working for 8 years and they've been doing gigs with 50 people, 100 people, 1,000 people in little venues you've never heard of, but they kept, they were persistent and they stayed at it. So one of the first things is to do the thing no one can do for you, and that is make a commitment to start telling stories. Now, when you have the commitment in place, there's really 2 main ingredients to every story. So to make it really simple, there's only 2 R's that you have to remember. The first one is relatability. You have to relate, or you have to build relatability with your audience. Now this means you have to show connectedness. You have to show empathy. You might remember probably your best high school or college teachers. Those were the ones who you just knew, like, he just gets me. She understands me. They know what I'm going through, as opposed to the others of, look, kid, you're one of 32 kids in my class, and I'm just trying to get a paycheck and make it to the end of the school year, right? So relatability is a key factor that you want to create. Now, the next one is, you can relate, and relating does not guarantee that anyone's going to buy something from you. In fact, probably one of the last places you want to be is where people think, oh, Robert, he's just a great guy. He's just so nice. I really like Robert. He's just great. When people do that, and they did that to me the first few years of my business, I was thinking, if I'm so great, why are you not buying anything, right? And it's because relatability was there. But the second R missing. And the second is results. So when I say results, I'm talking about you bringing skills to the table. Like you're coming to the ball game, Rob from Kentucky, so we know if it's a basketball game, you show up to play basketball, right? Like you just show up, whether it's, blue on your face, you have all your gear, you're ready 100% in the game, and you're going to leave everything on the field, as they say. So you want to showcase your competence. Like, how are you solving this problem for clients? Because what they're asking is, do you have the solution I need? Can you really help me get results, or are you exaggerating? So those are the two main ingredients that you want in every story. You want to relate to them and then show them that you can actually bring the results. And just a quick way to illustrate results would be something like, I would paint a picture of your pain points and then go into, for 8 years now, we've been helping clients get a handle on social media so that they feel great about every post that goes out, that they know they're going to get leads, that they know, and so on and so on and so on, right? So you just want to relate it to the results, and you can do that in a softer way that's not buy my stuff. So relatability and results.
So one of the things about stories is you want to build in that human empathy kind of factor along with doing the relatedness and relating with the customer, and then also putting out and showcasing your results, right? So you want to break down those barriers and really touch your audience's emotions. And with that being said, I can pretty much almost hear somebody that's either watching or listening right now and say, okay, that gives me a framework to use, and that's great and everything, but I've never written or released anything in my life like that. Or you have somebody that's saying, I'm not a writer, I'm not a storyteller. What exactly would you say to that?
Right. Your audience wants you. They don't want some generic version. They don't want a pretend version. Social media, I would say, social media for business, for sales, started out very elegant, and nice videos and this and that. And then it moved to people just want real, they want raw, they want authentic, they want results. And so you can have some confidence that that's what your audience is looking for. Mm-hmm. And the thing is this, if I'm competing with you, not that I don't always view it like competition, but if I were competing with you, if you release a beautiful 10-minute video once a month, and I release 10 less than 2-minute videos a month, I'm going to get farther ahead. I'm going to get, further ahead than you are, because I'm pushing more content out, more opportunities for my people to connect with me, that sort of thing. So it does come back to that conversation of just practice. And even if you think, I hate physically writing, I hate physically typing, okay, use voice to text. Just use a Google Doc, use WhatsApp, use Gmail, voice to text, tell a story. And the fun thing is, a lot of times I find people tell great stories. Now, I'm not saying you have to have a few beers or a little wine to be a great storyteller, but if you think back to when you were at parties, things like that, you can kind of, like, if you just mentally scan the room or think about your experience, all of a sudden what happens? Oh, you know what? We started joking about that time in high school when this happened, or the time we went on a road trip and got a flat tire and broke down in the middle of nowhere in the desert, and we're telling the story. So there's some ability in you already. You get to dig out. And like with anything, it's what any life coach, executive coach would say is, you're focusing on progress. You're not focusing on perfection. Perfection's great in some ways at keeping you broke. And progress, money loves speed. Progress is great for building your influence, making more money, all those sorts of things. And let's go for a real world example here, Robert. Do you have a favorite podcast or two that you love that's been around for a few years?
Oh, yes. Actually, I listen to a podcast every day. It's out of Seattle. It's called Brooke and Jeffrey in the Morning. Um, and one of the things about the show is they do a variety of different things. They do phone taps, they do awkward Tuesday phone calls, they do what you doing at the courthouse. There's all these just funny segments that I truly enjoy. So what exactly were you going to say in terms of that podcast?
Yeah, so there's your favorite podcast. Someone might think of a fitness podcast, a digital marketing podcast, anything like that. But here's the thing to do if you want to see something really interesting is go back to that person's very first podcast. Like you'll have to dig, you'll have to scroll, but go back to their first podcast. You can do this with anyone on video. If anyone's been releasing videos for years, go back to their very first video and you're going to be shocked, right? Because most of the time, unless like the podcasters had professional voice training, radio broadcasting training, you're going to find awkward pauses. You're going to find missed opportunities in the interview. There might be a few cringing moments where, who edited this? This is really rough. But the thing is, they kept going. And so today we kind of get to see them, flourishing in their skill. And that's the same with you. We just take the first step and we keep going. And it's the same thing that applies to storytelling.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying that. But one thing I want to also bring attention to is with stories, like you actually get a dominant position on the pages. When you think about like Facebook stories and you think about Instagram stories and you think about LinkedIn stories, you actually get your own icon up top, your own real estate for people to check out what you're doing. It's those short clips, again, like you were talking about. And also going into the perfection aspect of things, like you start small and then you grow and you build based off of your previous efforts, right? So it's a continual growth path.
Exactly. Yes.
And so if a listener starts to decide to start posting some story-based posts, what's the next step?
Yeah, the next step is practice. So you might type it out, use your voice, but it would be practice. So you might just start with writing out 5 before and after scenarios, or you might ask yourself, what are the 3 biggest transformations I've had in my business? What are the 3 biggest transformations I've had related to the product or service that I sell? Or another framework is complaints. The language of complaints is a gold mine for marketers, right? Like our people, our audience literally give us the copy to use on sales pages and on our sales calls, right? So you might think of what are the top 3 complaints that my clients had when they came to me? And then after they experienced my product or service, what happened? What's the result from that? So those are some ways to start practicing. And, when people jump into this, there's kind of 3 divisions here. I think it's great to simplify things. You have before you post your story, when you post your story, and then after you post your story. So before, of course, is your prep, everything like that. Then when you actually post it, when you make it go live, and the story could be a written text post, it could be a video, it can be an Instagram, LinkedIn story, it can be any really format like that. But when you do publish it, a great tip is if you have a few close friends in business, send them the link and ask them to like it. Like my story, can you give me a comment, something like that? Because one thing is that's going to help the algorithm of the network say, oh, something's going on with Robert's content. Let's show this to more people. So that's one easy technique to get more views on your content. And then the other thing is, after you do that, let it go. Don't refresh the page every 5 minutes, every 6 minutes. Just get on with your day, keep moving it forward. And then, of course, after some time, it might be the next day, the next few days, you want to look at the story and put on your scientist hat and just break it apart. Did this connect with the audience? Is there proof? Is there evidence it connected? Are there any comments that, that can give me kind of direction on what to share next? And the other thing is, you don't want to think, oh, my story bombed. I got 20 views and 3 hearts. Because the thing is, you've never done it before, right? So if I said, oh, I just ran a mile in 8 minutes, that's horrible. Well, if it's the first time you've done it, now you have a starting point and you can see if you can improve, right? So the same with stories, and all about this with Amazon and ads, it's always that tweaking and optimizing, everything like that.
Yep, and just what you also mentioned is that you're actually getting your own data, which is super, super important because, like you said, it gives you a starting point. It gives you a goal. How can I increase this? You're putting on your scientist hat and you're saying, hey, like what worked, what didn't work, and it gives you things to improve on moving forward. So with that being said, how can a business owner that's, wants to start to get their creative juices flowing with like storytelling, are there any kind of templates that they can use or anything like that?
Yeah, sure. Well, definitely, like we talked about, the best one to jump right into immediately would be the before and after. You definitely also want to use complaints, and also you want to look into your own life, your own business, see what the big transformations have been. If you work with a team, they may be independent contractors, they might be employees, you can always request from them, can you tell me the 2 or 3 biggest transformations that you've seen in our business? Because, through them, you have a pair of second eyes from which you can see, a little further. So maybe they've had a few conversations you haven't. And so those are a few techniques you can use. And then, of course, prompts. A prompt is, you might remember from years ago, a prompt is, once upon a time, and then what, right? Or maybe played the game as a kid where someone starts one line of the story and then you do the second line of the story. If you're old enough or seasoned enough, it's probably a better word. If you're seasoned enough, you might actually remember Mad Libs, where you would fill in the blanks. So any type of fill in the blank exercises with those are phenomenal. Like, here's a few examples. It could be, the reason I started my business was I was sick and tired of seeing people suffer with XYZ. Or when I first got into this industry, I noticed a huge missing gap. And because I'm filling this gap, my business has been growing in leaps and bounds. And you can really start asking questions about any of the different hats you wear in business. The main thing that gets me through a difficult week as an entrepreneur is XYZ. Or the number one value I love communicating to my clients is, and then going into the story version of that.
Thank you so much for clarifying that for me, Eric. One of the things we want to do for our listeners and our watchers of this video is to be able to give them something that they can take away and implement and use immediately. So in the description box below this video, there's going to be a link to Eric's website to download 30 free social media story templates that you can use in your own e-commerce brand, your personal brand, that's really going to magnify and make your story take off, getting more visibility, getting more clicks, getting more people to your website. I appreciate you so much for joining us today. And as always, if you like our content, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to our channel for all of the latest content that we produce. Eric, do you have any final closing comments that you'd like to talk about?
I would just say to any listener to jump right in. I mean, we've given you a lot of ideas that you can use right now. You can literally, when Robert ends the video, jump right into story writing mode. You can do the before and afters. You can do the complaints. You can ask your employees, independent contractors, think of the transformations that you yourself have had. And I would encourage you to make a decision to commit to it. You'll never know what's on the other side of these stories unless you really, really do put them out there on a consistent basis. So, and there's the download if you want extra guidance or more ideas, that's available for you as well. And other than that, Robert, it's just been a great experience here being with you today.
Hey, I appreciate you for joining us, Eric. And guys, make sure if you're still watching to come back next week whenever we talk about the importance of preparing your inventory shipments to send into Amazon fulfillment centers. I'm going to be talking about that topic with Noel Taylor from Taylor Logistics. Super, super important stuff. And again, thank you so much for joining me, Eric. Have a wonderful day.